Mm, Perfect. Hello, hello. Just waiting to see my other speaker on here tonight. Hello, everybody. If you can drop your city and your state, or if you're in Maryland, drop your county. If you are in Virginia, drop your county. If you're in Texas, drop your county so we can shout you out. If you can hear me okay, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a like. Perfect, perfect. Just waiting for my speaker to join tonight, so bear with me momentarily. I see we got Baltimore City, Humboldt, Texas, Florida, Howard County, Harris County. Okay, okay. Chesapeake, Virginia, Miami, Florida. I love Miami. Michigan. All right, perfect. So I see Melissa's on here. Trying to get Melissa to join so we can go ahead and get started. In my mind, I'm playing hold music. So if you're waiting, you can play some elevator tunes in your head too, so you can join me. All right, so we're waiting for Melissa Eldridge to hop on so we can get started. Pennsylvania, Texas, Richmond, awesome. Pikesville, Maryland, awesome. All right, Melissa, we waiting on you. Kentucky, nice. Haven't seen Kentucky on here. That's exciting. Got some new people on here. Charles County, Pearland, Texas. All right, Melissa. I see you trying to add you. Okay, let me try adding you again. Hold on. Frederick, Maryland. Awesome. Phoenix, Arizona. Nice. I think we got a nice mix of East Coast and West Coast. Wait, not West Coast. What's it called? Midwest. Yeah, East Coast and Midwest. Okay, so I'm trying to add Melissa again. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being patient with us. There was one issue last week. Now it's a different issue this week. Okay, so we got California in here. So we have East Coast, West Coast, and Midwest. Okay, nice. All right, Melissa. I don't know what's going on. See, it's trying to add you, but I don't know what you're doing. Okay, now I see you connecting. All right, Melissa. I don't know what's going on. All right. See, it's trying to add you, but I don't know what you're doing.
Let's see here.
Okay. So yours has a little bit of a delay. Can you hear me okay? I can see you, but can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you good. Yeah. So I was having some issues between the computer and my phone, so I had to log into my phone. So what I'm gonna do to make sure there's no kickback, I'm gonna log off the computer.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a little bit of an echo.
Is it?
Okay, so we had the same problem last week. So I think you have to turn off your computer and just do on your phone.
All right. So what
Okay.
about
Say something.
Hey guys.
So are y'all hearing okay? Okay, so we got a little bit of echo.
So yeah, are you getting some
I don't know
feedback
if it's me.
yet? Is it coming from me? Are you getting echo when I talk?
I don't know. It's a little bit staticky.
Oh, the close again.
Okay.
No, okay,
All
when I
right.
talk.
I think it might be me. I don't know. Melissa, try putting on your headphones. It's still an echo. It's static.
Is it still an echo on your side?
Yeah, it's a little bit echo and static.
I have to get my beats. Hold on.
Sorry, y'all. Practice makes perfect, right?
Yikes. Okay, hold on.
Nope, you're not late to the party. We haven't started yet. So you're right on time. Okay. So I think you're frozen, Melissa. Okay. So I think she's frozen. Now we lost her. Okay, so hi everybody. I'll go ahead and get started just a little bit with a summary from the last week. Because I don't want to get started into this week's session without Melissa, because it's mainly going to be her talking. Again, my name is Michol Bob. I am the founder of Notary Training Network. I am located in Baltimore, Maryland. So if you're in Maryland, definitely make sure you connect with me on the Baltimore Professional Notaries and Typics Facebook group. Also on the Maryland Notary Public Facebook group. All right, Melissa, it's not letting me add you. Hold on. Uh, Not letting me add you. I think you may need to log out and come back in because it's not giving me the option to add you, Melissa. So while we're waiting for Melissa to get on, just a quick summary of what we covered last week. If you missed the conversation last week for getting started as a Ron part one, we did go over some of the approved notary platforms. So if you're looking to learn more about some of the major ones that notaries are allowed to use, definitely check that out. Um, we No, we're not using StreamYard, not today. This is just on Facebook. Um, so if you're looking to learn more about some of the different platforms, we talked about Doc Verify, we talked about Basso, Signex, Notarize, Notary Cam. So if you're looking to learn more about those platforms, definitely check out the video from last week and you'll learn more about how that works. Also, tools and resources that you need. Yeah. Check out the tools and resources that you need. Let's try it this way and see if that works. Okay. Can y'all see me okay? Can you see my whole face? If you're interested in, if you go under the events on the Notary Training Network page, you'll see the video posted from last week. And I also posted it on the Notary Training Network YouTube page. So do y'all have to tilt your head to see me or can you see me okay? Oh gosh, now I'm sideways. Okay, so am I sideways for some people? And all right, we're gonna figure this out. Let me try adding Melissa back one more time. Okay, so
I'm back.
can you see the both of us now? If my head is cut off, that's fine. As long as you can see my face, my whole face, the top of my head is okay. All right, so Melissa, can y'all see both of us okay? Okay, good. All right, Melissa, okay, I see you moving. Go ahead and say something. Let's do a sound check real quick.
All right, I'm back. Can you guys hear me well?
We can see you, we can hear you. Is anybody having an echo? Any static?
I
Thumbs
don't
up
hear
if we
anything
sound
other
good.
than what we're saying.
Okay,
Sounds good.
perfect. All right. So, if you can drop your city and your state where you're from so we can give you a shout out. I'm in Maryland. Melissa you're in Texas, right?
I'm in Texas. I'm in
Yes.
the DFW area,
So,
Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm super excited about tonight's call because we got East Coast, Midwest, and West Coast on here. So, super excited about that. So, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself again. My name is Michol Bob. I am the founder of Notary Training Network. I am located in Maryland. So, if you're in Maryland, DC, or Virginia Notary, definitely make sure you connect with me. If you're in Maryland, I can absolutely help you. If you're in DC and Virginia, I can try my best to help you. I do provide notary training services. I do not provide typic training or notary signing agent training at this time. If you are looking for a mentor, I am also able to help you. You can connect with me. My website is www.notarytrainingnetwork.org. Melissa, I'll turn it over to you so you can tell them a little bit about yourself and how they can get in touch with you.
Awesome. First of all, thank you, McCall, for inviting me to be a guest with you on Facebook. I'm always honored and humbled to be a part to talk to you guys about notary or Ron. You guys know I drive Ron in the ground. Um, for those who don't know me, I'm Melissa Johnson Eldridge, known as Missy to a lot of people in the industry. I am a owner, CEO of NEMA Online Signing Solutions and Consultant. I've been doing remote online notary training nationwide for almost 3 years now. We provide training to notaries, um, companies, law attorneys, law firms. We provide consultancy with platform software, lenders and titles. So we have a full umbrella. And if you guys want to look at what all we do, if you go to NEMA, www.nemaonlinesigning.com, you can see everything that we have under our umbrella. We basically are a training solution for notaries who are interested in joining Ron, who are interested in selecting a platform of their choice. We're an independent company. We are not owned by any other platform. We, truly independent and transparent for the notary needs or the company needs. We provide recruiting. So those notaries who do come through our training, we are able to help them get recruited of a platform of their choice or work with NEMA services that we have available. And so we have a wide range of things that's going on with NEMA. I encourage you guys, go to the website, check it out. We have a lot of more things that's coming forward for 2021. We do have a training that's coming up this weekend. Actually, it's the last training to how to get started as a remote online notary, which will be October the 17th at 10 o'clock. This is the last fall training until January. And so we encourage you guys, anything that you want to know about Ron and how to get started, this is a training that you actually want to get in. And we're going to give you guys some insight on some things that we, already know about Ron, and just to kind of help clear up some thoughts of, things that you've heard about Ron. So glad to have all you guys here. I see you from North Carolina, Florida, guys out there, Texas, my state, Maryland, Virginia. So again, if you guys need anything after the session, I'll give you more information how to contact me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so we're just going to get right into it. Last week we talked about the different platforms that you can use, so we're not going to get too much into the platforms this week for specific platforms. Today we're just going to give like a general overview on how it works from the customer aspect of providing services as a notary. So last week we covered the notary part. Today, we're going to cover the notary part and also the consumer part. So if you're interested in providing remote online notary services, it is important for you to let your customers and clients know what to expect and how they get transactions, or how the transactions would work. So, with that being said, can you talk about training? That's our first topic for tonight. Can you talk about how training works for the different platforms? With you being connected with industry people who utilize notaries that provide the service and the training for it. I don't know if you want to include a little bit of the demand, what the demand is, but definitely training expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I started doing the whole remote online notary training, I knew that there was an actual need for notaries to be well trained on the skill set. Remote online notary is an actual skill set that the notaries have to mastered. Beyond just understanding the notarization side of the act, there is a lot of skill set that you need to understand from dealing with the platform services itself. And a lot of platforms don't offer one-on-one training for the notaries, or a lot of companies doesn't offer the one-on-one training. And so what we've done with NEMA is try to provide those services for the notaries so they can come in and learn the skill set. We do expect notaries to have basic notarization skills prior to coming to Ron. That being said, we expect the notaries to have some type of basic training, whether it be loan signing training, notarization training, or experience before coming to Ron, because you do have to be well aware of the law. You have to be well aware of the Notarial Act, and then you're adding that on to what you're going to learn from the computer side, the technical side of maneuvering, navigating software systems. So we, in training, we want you guys to be able to come to the table with your basic notarial services, understanding what your SOS, how to interpret your SOS laws, and bringing those good habits over to a RON platform and training, so we can just help you incorporate that and build a skill set on how to actually, complete an actual RON session. And so I work with a lot of the industries, a lot of platforms and companies out there, who are looking for trained notaries. We want those notaries to be able to, have at least a basic foundation. I will say this: every platform is different. And so some of the skill sets will be a little bit different from platform to platform, but having the basic foundation of navigating, troubleshooting, and being a little bit tech savvy will help you. So when they do offer you a job, you have some type of skill set coming to the table, if that makes sense for you guys.
hmm Now, can we talk a little bit about, and that's why I like these conversations, because we can just be transparent to let them know what industry folks probably won't tell them. So as far as getting
Correct.
training on the platforms, I know some platforms training is better than others. Can you kind of talk a little bit about what the expectations are outside of just the basic notarial knowledge of kind of what it goes into providing the service as a remote online notary?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I did this, I definitely approached Doc Verify about training. One of the reasons why I approached him about training was because I understood when I got started that there was really no actual hands-on training. There was a lot of demos as far as what to expect when you get onto a remote online notary platform. But it's something I always say to platforms and software when I'm consulting with them: demos are demos. It's a perfect world. Training is an actual on-hand setting skill set that we're going to teach you how to put your hands on the computer, what to do if your webcam is not on, how to clear the cache, how to coach your signer on the other side of how to log into the session. And so what we basically did with these trainings were applied these to platforms that we know notaries are being utilizing, but again, trying to get them to grasp hold to some of the tech savviness on the notary side. And so we're able to, even when we consult with the platforms, we're able to give them some insight on what is it that the notary need to see that to make sure that the platform is user friendly or notary friendly, or having the notary a concept embedded into these platforms. So as we train, again, it may look different from platform to platform. And as a transparent, independent trainer, I encourage notaries to seek out a platform that works best for you, what is affordable for you, what works best for you, and provide you some support. So very limited support with a lot of platforms as far as someone hopping on the phone and coaching you and telling you which way to go. Again, just some of the basic things you're going to know, like Chrome. Most platforms work better on Chrome. Well, you're not going to get that just by logging in. So you need to be able to understand what are some of just the best practice methods out there for logging into a remote online notary platform.
Mm-hmm. And just talking about it, I wonder, well, probably answering my own question. They expect you to know these things. That's why they
They
don't
do.
offer the training. So,
They do expect notaries to know. They expect no. It is almost like one of those things, like with a title company, and then I see this a lot in the industry. Title companies, they're not going to teach you how to do the loan signing. You come to them, you say you want to learn, you want to do work for them. They're going to expect you to know how to do the work for them. So whatever training you need to get it outside of the title company. And it's the same thing with Ron. I hear a lot of notaries like, well, I asked my title company about doing remote online notarization closings for them. And then the title company is like, well, tell me about that. Well, you can't tell them if you don't know. And they're not going to train you how to do the remote online notary closing because they have a process themselves. They want you to come to the table and be able to help them so they won't get burdened down with training the notaries. That's beyond the title company's scope to hire you as a remote online notary. So going to that title company, saying that I've been through a training, showing that you actually have some type of skill set will help you get on board with and as they implement and run into their actual process.
so I know a lot of notaries are getting into Ron because we're in a pandemic right now, and a lot of places are requiring those types of notarizations to be done to complete real estate transactions. Since you're a trainer for Ron Services, what are some other industries that you see requesting notaries to provide services that notaries may not be aware of?
Yeah, and as a transparent, independent trainer, I encourage notaries not to put all of the eggs into the loan signing area. I encourage them to look into medical, look into general notary population, look into, education. I'm always, talking about there's other industries that are in need of remote online notarization, especially since COVID has definitely changed a lot of the way we do things here. There's so many industry, the auto financing industry that needs notaries, and online notarization is one of those things that I teach in the actual training how to discover your niche and who's your target audience, because there's not as much red tape when you're dealing with a lot of other industries. When you're dealing with loan signing, there has to be permission from the lenders, the titles, and then you have to be vetted in to become a remote online notary closer with them. So as a Ron, as my practice, I really try to hit every industry I can because I want to, gain as much insight and as much business and services as it is that a company can offer. So definitely do your due diligence by looking at general notary, other industries. Education is huge right now, because we seeing now the schools were on a lockdown. They're coming back up. They're going back down. There's a lot of consent forms that needs to be signed. You got a lot of college students out there that got financial aid documents that parents have to sign. So there's so many other industries that can use remote online notarization, but it definitely does take a lot of footwork for the notaries to kind of like dig into those niches and find out, where do I want to market my business at?
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because as a notary trainer teaching people how to do just, general notarizations and become a professional, I say the same thing. It's important to know your niche and to market out to other places where they may not even know that notaries are needed. So something that's common with me doing that is people aren't aware that there's an aspect of a mobile notary so that they can provide that service.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel do you think that you can say people don't know that being able to provide remote online notarizations is a thing?
Yeah, I don't, a lot of people don't know. And this is one of the things I teach in my How to Grow Your Remote Online Notary Business course, is how do you inform the general population about Ron? How do you educate them? And one of the analogies I always give in the course is I was at a fair, entrepreneur fair, and there was a table inside of mine, and it was a Medicaid table. And I was like, well, why are you here? Be like, who doesn't know about Medicaid? And she was like, well, it's not that people don't know about Medicaid, is that people don't know about the resources with Medicaid. And so she said, we have to go out and we have to educate the population, the general pop, constantly about the resources that we have. And that just like dawned on me, like, this is the same thing. Like, it's not that people have not heard about an online notary. Some may have, some may have not. But then as an online notary, you do need to be able to educate people about the service that you're providing, because now you're a service provider. um, and I teach them about having a website and being able to create content to talk about it. It's very important that we are educated about it first before you're going to hit those hard questions about, remote online notarization that you won't be able to answer. And if you're going out soliciting business, the first thing people want to say, well, you don't really know what you're talking about, so I'm really not, sure if you can do this. So educate yourself. And most importantly, know what your state Secretary of State office policies and laws are saying about Ron. I cannot say that enough. You need to read your SOS constantly. It's constantly changing, and you need to educate yourself on that.
Hmm. So, an important question that just popped up for the I-9, I'm assuming she's asking about the I-9 form. So, those forms do not require notarization. Do you feel as though
No.
companies are requesting remote online notaries to provide the service to have that form completed? Because I know some companies do contract notaries to complete those assignments.
Yeah, well, so companies do contract with notaries to do I-9s. Again, there's not a notarial act that's on the actual I-9 form. It just says representative or authority figure for that actual document. I've not seen just a whole lot of the request for an online notary, although you do a lot of these online, you don't have to be commissioned as an online notary because you're not doing an actual notarization act. So that's just, you're just signing in and verifying that information on the I-9, which is totally different because normally there's a link that goes out with that I-9 that you will sign in and complete it online versus you having an actual remote online notary platform that you have security measurements to, use seals and stamps on that. So totally different platforms of usage.
Okay, so I hope that answers it for you. Is it Tanika? If that's if you need some more information, definitely send me a DM on the Notary Training Network page, and we can address it a little bit more offline if it's more specifics that you want to know around that particular area with the I-9s. Okay. So thank you for that. And then explaining the different options as far as training and putting yourself out there to get new business. I know it's a lot of people on here who may want to know that because a lot of the questions they ask is how can I market my remote online notary services? So digital certificate and seal is Ident Trust. Do you have any other places outside of working with the platforms directly where they can get their digital certificate and seal from?
Well, I mean, DigiCert, you can get your digital certificate through DigiCert. That's a company. I then trust, and some platforms provide it as you onboarding with them. So, I would always say too, do your due diligence with when you're looking for the digital certificate. Make sure that, when you sign up with the platform, is not already built into it. Understand how many years you want on your digital certificate. If you can be able to take your digital certificate with you, that's completely important. And most importantly, the digital certificate is basically your electronic signature. So you want to protect that digital certificate. You want to protect your digital certificate password. Um, I teach my notaries, as you onboard with some platforms, they may even ask you to give you their digital certificate password so they can onboard you. No, that is your electronic signature. You should be protecting that as much as you protect your wet signature. And basically, this thing will track you everywhere you go or anytime you're doing the online notarization. So you want to be very, very protective of that. You want to be the one to upload that digital certificate into a platform and understand that if you do purchase it within a platform, you need to ask, am I able to take this to any platform or is it just with the platform I'm purchasing with? So make sure you ask those questions. I do encourage notaries who want to work on multiple platforms to purchase one through IdenTrust. And that way you can take it, from whatever platform that you want to be able to utilize your services with.
So I know, speaking of working on multiple platforms, that's one issue with the certificate. So just me playing devil's advocate a little bit. I know
Mm-hmm.
you can work on multiple platforms. Can you use that certificate for multiple devices? So let's say you had a home location and you had an office location, specifically for notaries that may be dual commission in more than one state. Are they able to transfer that certificate from one device to another device?
That's a good question. So, from my understanding, you can take it from and put it on a flash drive and upload it to a different device. Now, the problem of that is most work computers have firewalls. Or have other security measurement that may come with a conflict of that digital certificate being uploaded onto that device. So I don't encourage transferring it from one device to another device unless they're your personal devices that you're going to be using. Like I have a Chrome and I have my PC. Now, some platforms have it where it's built into the actual platform. So, and whenever I log into the platform, my digital certificate is kind of like on a software, not a hardware. And that's how it is with Doc Verify. So I can log on Doc Verify from my PC to my Chromebook to my MacBook and never have to move my digital certificate at all. Is within the software itself because I purchase it within the software. But if you purchase it like IdenTrust and you have to upload it, then you may want to put it on a flash drive. But again, if you're taking it to a company's computer, you may want to be careful with that simply because there may be firewalls that may cause some conflict with you utilizing a digital certificate.
So I know a lot of notaries use Doc Verify because that seems to be the best platform that allows for them to work independently as a remote online notary. I know you also do your training with Doc Verify and you have your book. So definitely, can you tell us
Yeah.
where we can get your book from? And then also, if you had to give us your 3 to 5 best practice tips to be successful
Okay.
using Doc Verify.
Oh my God. So I go to Doc Verify like the OGs, right? They're like the OGs, and I'm a stickler for tradition. As far as like, what's been out there the longest. They've been around for a while, which is why I'm very, trustworthy of the platform, the credibility of the platform, the reputation of the platform. Now, I would not tell you that it is the easiest platform to maneuver, which is why when I started doing this actual training, I reached out to them and I was like, hey guys, can we do something, a memo of understanding? And we did. And so, working with those guys have definitely been just development of remote online notary services and training and providing, more information about things. But the one thing that about Doc Verify, you have to understand how to navigate this. So here's what I would say. First thing is on Doc Verify, they have to have a driver's license, not a passport. Okay. So if you're utilizing Doc Verify platform, you want to make sure that your signers have a driver's license. It's not built for passport as of yet. People are always developing new things. But as of yet, they don't have that just yet. So make sure that your signers have a driver's license. Um, One of the other things, make sure it's affordable for you. Make sure that you understand the fees, the prices, the monthly cost for Doc Verify. Make sure that you understand that this is an investment. One of the things I always tell notaries is when I purchased into Doc Verify, I looked at it as I was leasing software. I didn't look at it as if I was, just buying credits. I looked at it as it's a software that I'm leasing. And if you purchase software, it's going to be expensive. So make sure that it's a part of your budget for your business. I mean, that you understand, whether you get into a monthly subscription or you're going to pay a yearly subscription. Make sure that it's something that you're going to work with. One of the other things I could say about Doc Verify is that it does allow you to work independently. You working for yourself, so you pay your monthly subscription or you pay your yearly subscription. There's no third party man that's coming in the middle of the month saying give me my money or give me half of what you make. All of the fees that you collect goes directly to you. You don't have to share your fees with anyone. You can hop on whenever you want to. If you have a client that's over in a different country and you need to be able to meet those requirements and get that signing done or whatever it is done online that night, you have access to your platform at any time. And because it is I like to say the OG platform, it's not many independent remote online notary platforms out there that allow a notary to come on board. Some of the platforms, especially in the loan signing area, you have to become affiliated with title companies and lenders to be able to do those closings. So if there is no affiliation with you for those RON closings, then you have to, do your due diligence and find an independent platform that can allow you to do not just closings but any type of notary work that you want to do. And that's another thing, that this platform does allow you to do any type of work. It does not prevent you from doing so many docs or so many pages. So I've always liked Doc Verify.
And then I just want to throw out there and add as well. Make sure you check with your Secretary of State website to see what platforms are allowed. Doc Verify is probably approved in every state. They do
Yeah.
have other independent platforms that notaries can use. We're not going to talk about those tonight simply because some of them are less common, some of them are newer, and it may or may not apply and be approved in your state. So definitely make sure you check on your Secretary of State's website to see which platforms you are approved to choose from, if you have that limitation, or if you can just let your Secretary of State know whatever platform you decide to register with. So, in terms of speaking of the investment, I know a lot of notaries talk about the cost of the investment. So, two important things that go into that investment, which is something that whatever platform you decide to use should provide you with the services as it's included, and you hopefully shouldn't have to go out and find it on your own, is ID verification and the KBA process. So can you first break down what KBA means and why these two things are important?
Absolutely. So KBA is basically the knowledge-based assessment um, that RON platforms utilize to verify the ID of a signer. And so along with the knowledge-based assessment, you have the credential analysis. They work hand in hand. And so basically you have to be able to, the signer has to be able to pass the KBA in order to verify they are who they are on the remote online notary platform. This is particularly important because most of the state laws, most SOS has where the remote online notarization has to be KBA verified. This is again why it's important that the notaries understand what your state law says about remote online notarization platforms or the act itself, so you can understand, is it required that my signer or my platform go through the KBA process? Totally different, because in Virginia, it's not in the law. In Texas, is in the law. And so understanding that if there's a platform, and I hope I've not seen a RON platform without KBA. In the law says that it requires a KBA assessment, and the platform doesn't have that. There may not be a RON platform that you want to operate on. Now, states like Texas doesn't say what platform you can and cannot use. Okay, so again, this is why education is important for you, because if the SOS is not spelling out what platform you can use and what platform you cannot use, it leaves you up to your own understanding to know that, to understand what you can and cannot do. And so if you don't know, sometimes we will invest money that we haven't even did our own research on. So doing your research on the market, reading and understanding your SOS policy is going to save you a whole lot of money. On the front end, I see this all the time. Notaries are like, I spent $400, I spent $500, and I've not done anything. And the first thing I'm saying to myself, did you do your research? Did you do your market research? Did you do your research on your platform? Did you understand what you were jumping into before you jumped into it? And again, in training, I always ask my notaries, why do you want to become a Ron? Okay, I need to know, why do you want to utilize Ron? And the first thing I always tell notaries, Ron is not an all to go to. Ron is an option. It's an option for you as a notary. It's an option for the signers, and it's a tool in your notary bag. So building your notary business and adding that option of remote online notarization is going to leverage that notary business for you. So if you're not getting Ron business, I always wonder, what other type of business are you getting? Because if you have any clients out there, then you should be offering this as an option to your clients. And I teach that in How to Grow Your Ron Business. But this is why training is important. So in understanding, when you purchase that software, it's a growing process. It's like any other business. I always tell them, you got to plant your seed and then wait for your harvest, but you got to do the work. And that part for itself, do market research before you do anything. Or come to training.
Yes. So I don't know if it's considered breaking news, but I consider it breaking news, because not a lot of states allow expired IDs to be used as a form of identification. Maryland just passed their law to allow, I can't think, Maryland just passed their law to allow expired IDs, and then Sinex just made the announcement that they're going to allow expired IDs on their platform as well. So can you talk about some
Interesting.
differences between what IDs are acceptable for remote online notarizations versus traditional notarization?
Yeah, and I do believe, because we're dealing with COVID, and so there's a lot of emergency rules, policies, and laws that are allowing, and I like to say the non-traditional Ron. COVID have created emergency Ron, which is ring and all of those type of things. So this is different. You may see, states that say where you can utilize an expired ID on a remote online notarization platform. I can understand that, because for the most part of it, you're going to do a KBA to verify you are who you are. You're going to do the credential analysis. So the ID purposes on the actual Ron platform is to still for the notary to observe, is this person who they say they are on this actual ID? Does it match the facial recognition? The KBA, and I tell my notaries all the time, KBA qualifies you for the Ron session. It is still the notary's job to verify that ID. Now, if your state does not say you can use an expired ID, you still need to follow your state SOS as far as verification of that ID. And just because they pass KBA does not mean the notary bypass that ID verification process. In my training and our NEMA notaries, you see the ID, you still need to go into that journal and make sure that person is who they say they are when they sign into that session. We do not solely depend upon KBA, a passing of KBA. You still need to put your eyes on the ID and make sure that those people are matching.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I know we mentioned the driver's license and the state issued ID card and the passports. Some places may or may not be able to accept for the ID. So as far as the KBA is concerned, I know they have limitations on if someone can even pass the KBA. So can you talk a little bit about what would invalidate a transaction from taking place because the customer is not able to pass the KBA?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to say this to you guys. If you get this book, it has all of that information in there. as far as like the qualifications of KBA passing, um, is on Amazon, and you can get the Kindle or you can get the hard copy. But it has all of those qualifications there. Normally, when it comes down to KBA, uh, either certain platforms will allow passport, eNotary Law would allow you with a passport. Doc Verify would not allow you with a passport. So again, knowing your platform is going to be able for you to determine if this person is eligible to pass the KBA on a particular platform. They have to be 18 years of age. They have to have at least 5 years of credit history, because we're talking about the credential analysis. If you don't have credit history, you're not going to be able to be found in the bureau, the credit bureau. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to have an ID or a driver's license. And one of the other things that some of the platforms I noticed on, you need to have at least a U.S. phone number. And let me say this, not a Google phone number, a U.S. service provider. Because when you are doing your KBA and your identification process, you're going to have to upload that and by receiving a text message on a U.S. phone. So you don't have a US phone and you just got a Google number, how are you going to get that text message? All right. And I get this a lot from my international. They got a US phone number, they international, but they don't actually have a service provider that's in the US. And so still we get kind of stuck right there. So knowing what your platform allows and knowing what is the actual requirements to qualify them for a KBA. Different states have different lose as far as the actual KBA process. So you again need to know what your state says about the KBA process. Here in Texas, we can use a credible witness. Other states, you may not be able to use a credible witness. So knowing what your state says about KBA is going to save you a whole lot of headache and frustration on the sinus part before you put them through that.
Okay, perfect. So now that the notary has their platform that they're working on, customer was they was able to pass the ID verification. Now we're in. Now we can have the transaction take place.
I'm sorry, you froze. What was that?
Now that the notary has gotten their platform that they're working on, customer was able to pass the KBA and get through and get approved to get the transaction to take place. They were able to pass their ID verification. Can you tell us a little bit about how the actual process works to complete a simple transaction versus something that might be more complex?
Absolutely. So let me say this. Ron is about customer service first, and then your notarial act. Okay. There is a building process up to this actual session. You need to be able to understand, one, what is the requirement of your signer? Provide that information to the signer. You need to be able to coach and script them through that. You need to also be able to set up this session. Once you have qualified them to participate in this KBA or in the actual session, now it is the notary's job to provide that customer service to that signer. And then once they come into the session, you're going to do that notarial act. So you have more than just the notary's perspective or the notary's job that's leading you up into an actual session. One of the things that I do in our training, we have what we call NEMA's demo land. Okay. So in NEMA's demo land, after you come out of training, I give you access to the demo land where you are going to build your own session, where you're going to be able to upload that document. You're going to send out that script. You're going to build your own session. And once you show me that you can build your own session, then we're going to move you over to preparing your documents in the actual demo land. Once you complete it, preparing a document, then you're ready to do a live session. I cannot tell you, practice, practice, practice. Do not jump on a call without having any type of practice, without having any type of training, because it's so frustrating. I don't care what platform you're on, you need to be able to have something in place so you can be prepared. Again, in the book, and I think it's page, we have page 27 and 28. I give you what I call an email script, and I give you what I call a webcam session script. So in the email, it's going to help you to form an email on how you need to converse with your signer. what you need to prepare them for the session. And in the webcam session script, it's going to give you information on how you need to have that conversation with your signer back and forth when you go live. So preparation is the key. That is the training, preparation. That's the key to having successful online notary, and that's the key to your credibility and reputation as a professional online notary. One of the other things I like to throw in there, Michol, is that this is a professional session. Carry yourself in a professional manner. You want to make sure that when you log on, that you're setting expectations for yourself and for your client. So when they come in, they can say kudos to the services that you're providing, because a lot of us are working independently for ourselves. And what you do independently is going to provide you longevity in your services. So just think of it as a business and not a side gig.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you for that. So once the transaction has been completed, what happens after that? Because a lot of notaries wonder, okay, if they're requesting a copy of the recording, how do I get it to them? If they're requesting a copy of the document, how do I get it to them? In addition to having to save those records for 10 years.
Yeah, it's funny when I hear 10 years. Whew. Okay, because well, a lot of these, some of the softwares are on cloud. Some of them have it for 5 years. Most I know have it stored for 5 years, and that's another conversation for software. But so different platforms may automatically route the documents back out to the signer. Some platforms may not. You may have to download the actual document, the actual session, and send it to the signer. I've not known signers to request an actual recording. I do know lenders that would request a recording or in the audit, because lenders have to, I don't know, provide it to the investors, or they have it stored somewhere that they want it to. The general population, I've not had anyone to say, oh, I need my audio video recording. I won't say they won't, but in the event that you do, some of the platforms do have it to where you can download it immediately after the session, or some of the platforms have it to where you can go back and it's stored on the platform for so long. I can tell you with Doc Verify, it is there until I think 5 years for your audio videos. Your documents will expire, but the audio videos are there. So you can go back and you can watch yourself immediately after session. And I do. I go back and I critique myself. I go back and I watch how I, use my facial language. As you guys can see, I'm very, animated with my face sometimes, but I go back and I critique myself, and I go back and I just watch my video sessions, and just do it as a learning. So some platforms you can go back and just watch your videos. You can download them. I don't store them on my hard drive. That's going to eat up a whole lot of space. If you have a cloud you want to store them on, it's probably the best thing you could do. Or if you want to put them on a flash drive, that's up to the notary to do. So just whatever works best for you. If your state says that you need to keep it for 10 years, then I would strongly encourage you to get a flash drive, and make sure you label it. I think it's Florida that says it needs to be held for 10 years. Also, Florida says that you have to record the entire session, not just a notarial act. So understanding what your SOS says for you is going to be important for you when you start doing remote online notarization.
So, important question that came up in the comment. Most platforms do include the provider or the audiovisual technology for you to use. For the platforms that either don't include it or allow you to choose an alternate platform to use for the audiovisual recording, other than Zoom, can you talk a little bit about what may be accepted versus what may not be accepted, and why?
As far as Ron, platforms that allow you, so if it's not Zoom, you're probably using what, Google Hangout? Is that what I'm just so they're looking for a different audio video recording other than an actual Ron platform.
So in the Ron platform, it allows you to use different providers for the audiovisual technology.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about those. again, I'm very traditional with Ron, and Ron hasn't even been out that long to be that traditional about it. But for security measurements, I like to have my audio video in the actual software platform itself. If there is another platform that out there that have them to, utilize Zoom, and I've worked with platforms like that before, not to knock them or whatever, but I would say you definitely want to make sure that you have strong security with those type of platforms. If you're using any other type of audio video recording for those, you know, platforms that's built in with the audio video recording, they have like almost 7 layers of security. And so again, for me, because it's so new, and if I was a new notary, I would definitely be looking for platforms that had that security measurement on there more than just a lot of the audio video recordings, because we see now we have Ren and people are using Google.
I think Melissa froze on us for a second. Um, so I think she froze on us for a second. But just to piggyback off of what she was mentioning with the Ron and the Ren, a lot of um, temporary orders right now under COVID are allowing Ren. Ren and Ron is not the same thing. So for Ren, it is where basically lenders are allowing notaries to do a ink remote ink notarization, where they deliver the documents to the borrower. They have the borrower sign either they can be on a patio or a porch, or they can be inside, or they can be in their car. Once the borrowers are finished signing, they give the documents back to the notary to complete the notarization for the second portion of the signing. So it's up to you, honestly, if that's something that you feel comfortable doing. If you don't feel comfortable doing a REN transaction, it's perfectly fine. Don't ever put your conscience or put your commission on the line doing something that's a temporary fix to a temporary situation. It's an inconvenient temporary situation, but you still want to know if your state allows for you to even do those types of transactions. And if you get an assignment from a lender requesting you to do that type of transaction, it's okay for you to say no. You don't have to feel like you're pressured into doing it. Now, sometimes if it's the title person that's a settlement agent that works directly with the title company or the lender or escrow or whoever else is party to the transaction, sometimes they don't have the option to say no because they're working directly for the company. So that's the plus side to being a notary. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to do versus what you don't want to do. So that's something that's important to keep in mind as well. Melissa, I'm not sure what part you cut off on. You were talking about Ron and Ren, so I was just kind of finishing up what the differences between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like to say Ren is the little sister to Ron. She just came along, during the COVID pandemic. I'm not sure how long Ren is going to be around, but again, I can't say enough. Your SOS is your friend. I see someone is putting in the comments about SOS in 2020 and changes. There's constant changes. You need to read your SOS weekly, daily, monthly, because there's so many changes. Ren is, yeah, remote ink signing, notarization. Is there for an emergency act. I'm like Michol with that. You definitely need to understand what you can and cannot do with Ren. You need to make sure that it is acceptable if you're utilizing Ren, and just feel safe if you're going to do it. For me, I've done maybe one Ren, and I strongly encourage Ron. If it's something that needs to be done online, I like to do online. I think Online notarization is there for a reason. And is one to deter fraud. And a lot of people think that when you talk about Ron, there's more fraud that will happen, but actually is less, simply because the KBA process of his own, the credential analysis, and the actual ID verification process. So we're talking about a person having to be able to do all three to verify who they are before they even sign those documents. Versus in person, I'm just going to look at your ID, and hopefully you still look like you did 10 years from now. I don't. And try to make it match. I don't have to ask you about your credit. I don't have to verify anything else about you. So I think Ron is very more secured. And for sure, when you're talking about measuring it with Ren. But again, like Michol said, make sure that you feel safe. Make sure that it is within your state policy that you can act as a REN, and make sure you understand what your state policy says about REN.
Perfect. Um, okay, so two more topics to cover before we get into Q&A, but real quick, someone put how much anything dealing with Ron, you can never have enough training. What would you suggest?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you right now, training is ongoing. I'm constantly training. I am constantly training. I do recommend you need to at least get training first and then start your services. I have people in my training. We have a Google Classroom for those who are in the how to grow your remote online notary business. And those people have been in training since September. And I'm constantly talking to them. I'm constantly, visiting with them about things that they can do, things that they're not doing, how to leverage some things. But when you're getting started, you need as much training as possible. Again, sorry, my dogs are being naughty. But it's not so much about signing a document as it is about knowing how to provide the services, how to, coach your clients in, how to leverage that fee, scheduling. It's a whole realm of things that you're going to learn. And that's just the beginning of it. That's just the beginning, understanding your digital certificates, your do's and your don'ts, your e-seal. That's just, how to get started is one side of it, and then implementing and onboarding Ron, and then trying to grow the business. So, you have a full scope of things that you need to actually grasp in. Normally, the person I see come through training, I'll say within 6 weeks, they're able to pick up and start moving and getting out there and doing some things.
So if you're in a state that doesn't provide training, if you need help getting training on how to function as a notary, I can help you with that. If you're in a state that you want to provide Ron services, Melissa can help you with that, because outside of knowing, one, how to do your notarial acts, and two, how to use the platform, the big part of training that's really important is best practices. But when you're in those uncommon
Yes,
situations, that the state may not be able to give you an answer what to do. Your handbook may not be able to give you an answer what to do. It's not always a one size fits all. And being a notary is definitely a lot of on the job training. So you want to be able to have people that you can reach out to help you when you get stuck in some of those situations, or at least to kind of give you an idea of how to handle it going into a situation so that you can be prepared, as opposed to not knowing how to think quick or think on your feet or thinking in the middle of something that you're doing where you might get stuck.
correct.
Uh,
Totally agree.
Okay, so our last 2 points, we talked a lot about the states that are approved for Ron. I believe now it's what, like 26 or 27 of them that have had laws passed.
Oh no. I think we got 38.
38,
We have
okay.
30. Well, last I checked, there were 38 states.
Okay,
Um, I talked to some platforms today. Some are coming on board in December.
okay.
So, mhm,
So that number may still be changing. Last time I checked before we came on, it was 26. So probably by the end of the year, maybe closer to
yeah,
38. I know there's a
yeah.
handful, just a few states that don't have anything with Ron going on right now. Can you talk about some of those? Because I know we have people from all over on the call tonight.
Yeah, be patient with Ron. Even before Ron come to your state, you can do your due diligence to just research. That's what I did. Before Ron came to Texas, I started reading about Ron in 2017. It didn't become a law here until 2018. So when it came here, I kind of had, a learning curve on what the policy, what the laws was saying. So I was researching it when I actually went through my first remote online notarization with a Virginia notary for some of my own documents back in 2017. And that's what sparked me to start reading about Ron. So I started reading about, what Virginia was doing out there with Ron. I started reading about what Texas was adopting with Ron. And so just because it's not in your state doesn't mean you shouldn't start educating yourself about it. Again, this is about education. So start reading about it. Although my book is basically based upon like Texas policies and stuff, this is more of a skill set book to talk about how to build your skill set, what to do when you get an actual job, what to look for on platforms, about I do have vocabulary words, things like that, just terminology, so you can start educating yourself on about Ron. I think Louisiana, which is my home state, is becoming Ron either October, I think we became Ron, or either December by the end of the year. I don't know, but states like that, educate yourself. And even if your state has passed Ron, again, it's constantly changing. Read as much as possible. I will tell you this: most SOS leave it kind of broad. They don't give you the technical skills about Ron, and so that's where we try to come in as a trainer and try to teach you those kind of live, like Michol said, on the job skill sets, because that's what's going to make a difference when you get an actual job setting.
Hmm. And then just to piggyback off of that, so California isn't doing it right now. DC isn't really doing it right now. So if you're in Washington, DC, I think Georgia was not doing it. Am I missing any?
There's a couple of more. For sure, I know California. They've been fighting about Ron for a long time.
So at
Um,
least these three
yeah, I
states
really,
definitely they don't have any
yeah,
temporary regulations for COVID, and they don't have any laws coming into place for remote online notarization. So if you're in those states, don't waste your money making the investment because you want to jump on the bandwagon
no,
because it's non-refundable.
no. Mm. Is that right? And you want to be able to, but I will tell you this. If you're in a state where there's no Ron, this is a time where you can still learn about it, read about it, but you should be maximizing your notary service business to where it's the general population or doing a lot of independent work on your own. And in the same skill sets that we're teaching about marketing Ron, you should be marketing your notary service business as well. So this will give you a still, ahead of the curve on what you can do. Ron is a tool, is not your all of your business. It's a tool. And so if you start thinking about options and tools and services that I'm going to bundle and package with my notary services, then you start seeing your business leverage up on that level. So, you know.
Now, keep in mind, with offering it as an additional service, some states still do regulate the fees that you can charge for notarial acts. So you need to make sure
Yeah.
you're still, following those guidelines for what you can charge per notarial act. Some states allows you to regulate charging anything for additional fees. Um, just because I'm in Maryland and our fees are regulated, it completely baffles me when I see people charging for expedited fees, late night fees, rush fees. They charge for the notary to come to, I'm sorry, they charge for the customer to come to them as a notary instead of the notary going to the customer. So some people out here charging some
Oh my
ridiculous fees
God.
and they'll get paid for it, which is perfectly fine. So you just want to make sure and also take yourself into account because you might need a notary one day. Don't charge something to somebody else that you're not willing to pay yourself. So whatever fees you decide to
Right.
set up, make sure you can charge it within your state if you have those regulations. And if you don't have the regulations, that's awesome too. But just make sure whatever you do is, reasonable and considerate so that if you had to go to you to request a service, that's something that you would want to pay for. And also, speaking about being professionals and adding that extra touch of customer service, definitely critique yourself, watch yourself, and make sure that the services that you provide is something that you would go to yourself to receive. Because sometimes we need to look at ourselves from a third person point of view to make sure we're doing what we are supposed to be doing the best way that we know how to. The last point for tonight that we're going to touch on before we throw in a little bonus for you guys is a lot of times we know what we can notarize through Ron. I know there's a few types of documents that we can't notarize through Ron. So can you talk about some of those? I know it does depend, case by case on a state basis.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's a lot of documents that you can obviously notarize, but then those documents like it depends on the state. Real estate document, I'm sorry, estate planning documents, wills, apostles, um, birth certificates, which cannot be notarized at all. But those type of documents, anything that from in Texas, anything that you have to go to the state office to actually get a copy of or a duplicate of has to go through the state office. So a lot of those documents can't be notarized online. The SOS definitely does, point out some SOS does, some of them don't, which is kind of confusing. Florida is one of the first states to initialize estate planning for Ron, which is huge because I have people in Arizona who are interested in onboarding and implementing Ron into their estate planning. And so, but it's not in the Arizona Act, or they're waiting for it to be passed in the Arizona Act. Whereas Florida do have that. And so it depends on some states, it definitely varies from state to state as far as what documents you can and cannot do. Some states give you no guidance as far as the do's and don'ts. So it's kind of like, too, I use that rule of thumb. If you think that it's going to be questionable, don't do it. Okay. Wills are definitely very controversial because it takes more than one person. It takes maybe two witnesses, some states more than that. And so when you're talking about pulling in people, you need to make sure that you have original documents. You need to make sure if there's an attorney involved. There's just way too many other parties and moving pieces into some of these documents that you may not be aware of, that you need to have some more authority level on. So just make sure that, again, you understand what your SOS is saying about certain documents that you can and cannot do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So just to wrap up before we get into any last minute Q&A, some best practices. I couldn't end the night without asking you. So for anybody that is interested in providing Ron services, what are your top three best practices that you would advise?
Customer service first. Okay. In your business, customer service first. You want to be able, like Michol said, you want to be fair with people. You want to first know the services that you're providing. If you're not sure about the services that you're providing, you're not ready to provide those services. If you're not sure about Ron, if you're not well educated about Ron, you may not be ready to offer that services. So understanding, and educating yourself in the customer service is, I promise, it's going to give you a whole different experience, and you'll feel better about the services that you're providing. You can sleep and feel better about when you provide the service to the customer. You gave them great customer service. So I like to always use, it's not that Chick-fil-A got the best seasoned chicken, it's just that Chick-fil-A got the best customer
Customer
service.
service.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, it takes you a long ways in Ron. One of the other things, again, educate yourself as much as possible. Educate yourself about Ron, educate yourself about the industry, knowing your market research. A lot of times I would say in Ron, it's definitely challenging because you are now marketing yourself as a real, true independent notary. There's not a lot of people that can, assign you a signing or that can give you direct work because they're learning this too. So that part by itself, it helps, it puts you at creating your own will. And nothing is wrong with creating your own will. I like that. It's challenging, but and it takes a lot of more hard work. So, you got to understand what you getting yourself into. Um, Thirdly, be optimistic. You need to be optimistic about change. Change will always be here. It will always come. Be optimistic about it. Be patient about it. Have understanding and see yourself as investing into your notary business, not as a loss. I see that so much. And the thing I say is if you see yourself as losing money going in, you already lost. If you see yourself as investing into your notary business, you've already gained. It's like when you want to go, you're buying stocks and you're going to Wall Street, you're going to buy some stocks or whatever you're going to invest your money into. You're not going to see the big return of investment immediately. But if you do your due diligence, if you educate yourself, if you market yourself, if you research the market, and then you can see that return investment on what you actually doing. So I didn't see a return investment to a year, but I didn't give up on that. And that's because I stay optimistic about my visions and my goals. So I encourage you guys to, stay optimistic. If you're not in the 21st Century Notary group, I'm always posting good things about, being positive and visions and provisions and being optimistic about it. If you're not, positive about your experience, and we do get discouraged at times. That's human nature, but you got to find out how to pick yourself back up and continue to see this as an investment. As an investment. If you see it as a loss, that's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. So perfect. So I'm glad we had this conversation tonight. So I'm gonna open up the last few minutes for any questions, for anything that we may not have addressed. If you want to ask me something specific, or if you want to ask Melissa something specific, definitely go ahead and post those in the comments below. And then I'll reintroduce myself. Again, my name is Michol Bob. I am the founder of Notary Training Network. So if you're looking for a notary mentor or you're looking to get started as a notary, definitely connect with me. My website is www.notarytrainingnetwork.org. I do have a mobile notary workshop that's coming up that's open to all notaries. It's going to be on Notary Public Day, which is November 7th. So if you're interested in adding Ron as a service that you want to provide, or you want to get yourself set up to provide another stream of income as a mobile notary, definitely register for that workshop. It is going to be virtual. And also, you can connect with me if you're in Maryland, if you're not already in the Baltimore Professional Notaries and Typics group or the Maryland Notary Public group. I would love to, get in contact with you. You can send me a message on here. Melissa, go ahead and give your information. I know you have your groups as well.
Yeah, so we have 21st Century Notary, which is a remote online notary group. I'm typically going live in there at least once or twice a week. Sometimes I just pop up out of the blue and go live. um, I am a part of the remote online notary group as well. There's a ton of notaries, remote online notaries from different states in that group, so utilize it. Our last fall class is this actual Saturday, October 17th, how to get started as a remote online notary. And we go into full details about some of the things that we discussed this evening. And then you get access to our actual demo land for a remote online notary without signing up on the platform. Okay, so we have that available. This will be our last class for the fall. We'll have more classes coming in January 2021. God, it's been a long year. And so normally what I do is during the winter time, we have a winter break between November and December, and I give ourselves a time to start preparing for our new year, getting things in order, organizing ourselves. So if you are interested in getting that Ron training so you can be organized when 2021 get here, you need to be in training this Saturday. That is the last one for the fall. We won't do it again until January 2021. But we will still be around. We'll still be providing services. There's so many new things, guys, that's going on for 2021 with Ron. I cannot say it tonight, but big things are coming for Ron for 2021. And I encourage you to, don't play behind the ball. Don't, if you're interested, take the training course, get the book on Amazon and start reading and, educating yourself about it. And I'll see you guys around.
So, question came up for Ron on the PC versus the laptop. I know they are one and the same, but as far as technology requirements, what do you suggest? So you don't have any issues or mishaps where you may get cut out over a situation.
Yeah, I'm an old school girl, so I love the PC. I just do. It's easier for me to navigate. It's easier for uploading with the digital certificate. It uploads perfect there. Normally with the MacBook, you have a little trouble with download. It's you just have to transfer it into a different format. So with the MacBook, you have to convert it to a different format, and it could be a little bit challenging there. If you tech savvy, kudos to you. I know some of the most tech savvy people have had issues with doing it, but they work through it. So I just prefer my PC because I'm old school with it. I use my Chromebooks sometimes if I am having problems with my PC, but as far as a lag, what you're probably going to see is more with your internet than anything. So if you're having like, you do definitely, we didn't talk about that, but you definitely need to make sure you have good internet speed in your home. I know like for me, my kids are virtually learning. So during the day, a certain part of the day, everybody is using MacBooks, Chromebooks, cell phones. All of us got phone that's connected to our Wi-Fi that can drag down the internet speed. So you want to make sure that you understand what your internet speed is in your home, your providers. It's just a couple of one things that you want to, make sure you troubleshoot throughout the day. And sometimes I make my kids get off the internet, get off of it, so I can have a good run session. So just depend on.
Also, in terms of software, I mentioned it last week, but I want to bring it up again this week as well. Making sure your monitor, whatever you're using, is a good size. So, what's recommended is 19 inches or bigger. And that's because you may have to flip through documents. You may have to have two different screens up to look at the document and look at the signer and look at the ID and do a bunch of different things all at the same time. So, you want to make sure it's big enough for you to be able to do so.
So I flip my camera around so you guys can see what my setup kind of like looks. So I have like a monitor right here and a monitor right there. Then I have another cell phone right here. So I got a Chromebook up under there. I like to say stay ready. Stay ready. Stay ready so you want to get ready, right? When you in front of these monitors all day, you do want to have a nice size monitor. Now, I don't recommend a notary utilizing an iPad or a tablet for Ron. You can, but when you are doing, especially if you're doing closings, when you're doing 116 pages of documents and you have to provide some tagging or preparing a document, you want to make sure that you have a nice size monitor that you're comfortable so you don't miss any signatures and you don't miss any dates. So, you know, just for me, I don't say that you need a 32-inch monitor. I think a nice 19-inch or 17-inch, which you have, an average monitor works, but you want to make sure that you do have a good size where you can, navigate those documents.
Perfect, perfect. So, if you don't have anything else to add, I think we covered everything tonight. So, this part of the session was definitely to talk more about what the expectations are on the consumer side. If you want to know more about what the expectations are from the notary side, definitely make sure you check out Getting Started as a Ron Part 1. The video is going to be on there for the replay under the event section and the videos in the Notary Training Network page, or if you prefer, it's also on YouTube, Notary Training Network YouTube page as well. And this video will be posted on there as well. So if you want to save it and view it at a later time, if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to me on my website, www.notarytrainingnetwork.org. Melissa, what's your website?
So we have two. If you're interested in the actual training, you go to enotarytrainingclasses.com. That's enotarytrainingclasses.com. You can register for the training. If you're interested in just finding out all about NEMA or becoming a part of NEMA Notary Network, you can go to www.nemaonlinesigning.com. And we do work with mobile notaries as well. We have a signing services up under NEMA umbrella. And so we've been able to, branch out and start hiring notaries all over through our signing services. And one of the, goals of that is to, as we get on to mobile notaries, those who are transitioning over to Ron, we are building a network of notaries that can, come in, get trained, get vetted over into our Ron services, start providing Ron services with our NEMA signing services as well. So go to the website, check it out. If you like what you see, submit your name and let's connect.
Thank you. So, in the interest of time, and it's getting late in the evening, I want to give some people some time to go do whatever they need to do. I know I still got to go make dinner.